think we're going. Right. This is the last one, I hope. Not going to attempt to do every one she's written. I haven't got... My life's not long enough. Right, item 6. This is for you, obviously, Julian. You cannot help in sorting out your dad and I. Your dad lost my trust when he took Tommy away, and the things he has done to me afterwards because I objected to being lied to. That's not your fault or problem. I have dealt with his mood swings, not knowing what it was for years. That is my problem. It is an illness, I believe, and I've not always dealt with it easily. The constant change of mood will have affected you all and my reactions to them. No energy by your dad to super energy that I could not cope with. That's not your problem. You have to forget it. Do not let it affect your life today. It's part of your past. I have to admit, I find it hard to keep this serious. Right, more slander against me being fed to you, Julian, under the guise of trying to help you. Dorothy's and my relationship had dwindled well before the Thailand visit. I believe it was when I started my diving course, and she hugely resented me beginning a hobby. I know she felt sure that it would be very expensive, but as I've said before, I did private work to pay for it, but she started to avoid me then. Then, when I retired, she made it quite obvious that she didn't like me being around the house, even though I helped in loads of ways, and it was inexplicable. But I'm obviously being blamed for your condition, Julian, and I find that quite horrible. I'm sure that you realise that, as your father, I love all my kids as I do my grandkids. I'm very upset about the issues affecting you, and I want only for your happiness and to get that jokey, friendly lad back. Then item 7. Is this Dorothy's again, yeah, in italics. Most families have something to deal with in the past. Kids may feel guilty even when it's not their fault, but their parents' problem. I think that's your problem. You think you're the cause of your parents' or siblings' problems when you're not in any way to blame. You were under 25, and we were the adults advising you and nurturing you. Hope this helps you. What do you think about what I have said, love, Mum? As I said, yes, I wonder what you do think, Julian, of that. Page 5, this is from me again. This one is a sad recollection for me because she made me into the villain in front of you, Julian. Yes, I know I shouldn't have got angry, but as I told you before, when Doc gets going and refuses to listen to anybody's point, especially mine, she becomes almost insane and raises her teacher voice to a shrill assault, which unfortunately does my head in, and I desperately want it to stop. And this is her again, item 1. Oh, Julian, I do not know if you want to hear this, but I recognise that your dad's behaviour is not normal. It became horribly bad in 1990 after his dad died. But yes, he was abusive to me for a long time before that if he did not get his own way. It begun with the diving group, and that's when he started drinking after each dive. He felt he deserved all the things these young divers had, and the older ones too. On 5th of June 1999, when you were 26 years old, you had your first real success and went to an auction that Saturday and bought a beautiful royal blue Rover, I think it was. Your dad had gone with one of the divers to St. Abbs early in the morning. You needed to put the car on the drive as had to wait until Monday to get the tax disc. And a police car was regularly checking our roads to see if old cars had tax discs displayed. Had been seen twice that week. So I moved our car out and your car went on the drive. Okay. Wonder why she moved it out. Late afternoon I was ironing when your dad came in shouting, "What's that doing on the drive? Get it off." I tried to explain and was told to get him to get it off the drive. I said no. He then came forward to attack me and started pushing me. You and Tom came forward to stop him hurting me, at which point he picked up the hot iron, trying to hit Julian over the head. My God. I managed to grab it off him, and he picked up a little plastic fan and hit you with that, smashing it. Really? Most dads would have been thrilled to see what you had achieved, been excited and wanted to look inside, but not Trev. I think he had been drinking, as the other driver had dropped him off. I always stuck up for my kids when I knew something was totally wrong and was there to see it. Right, me. That day Julian had indeed bought a second-hand Rover or some such car from an auction, and it was parked outside. Now previously, as part of the improvements to the family house, I had repaired and bought all the materials for our car hands hard standing at the front of the house. Okay. I had dug out the area, had it tamped down and laid the sand ready for the builders. I had also ordered high quality Marshall's red paving blocks and all the necessary cement and sand. My builders had arrived and laid the pavers in a herringbone pattern with a block perimeter surround. It looked very swish once finished, and I was very pleased with it. I'm sure all of us were. It cost about 2,000, I recall. Right, now the Marshall's rep had explained to me that it needed very little maintenance, but to be very careful that no oil ever dripped on it, as this would permanently damage it. It'd be visually unacceptable, of course, and I wouldn't be able to remove it ever. So before I left, I asked Julian, and Dot too, I believe, to just leave it outside until I got back, when we could check it out. I was very anxious in case there might be an oil leak. Very common in second-hand cars. Everyone seemed to be happy with that, and I went off relaxed. After the dive, I returned. It's always tiring, and I would have had a pint at the pub afterwards, as we talked to our students about their lesson. I wasn't drunk, and I got a lift back from one of my friends. But as we approached the house, I was horrified to see Julian's car parked on my drive. Yes, I came in the house and felt betrayed. I asked you, Julian, why you had done it, and Dot came in, saying she had told Julian to put it on the drive. I said she had no right. I didn't even know whether the drive had already been ruined at that time. I said I needed the car off the drive to check it out, but Dot immediately started shouting over me and wouldn't let me explain my point. She also raised her teacher voice to a high pitch in a maniacal way and was basically shouting at me, which she knows, as I've already explained, gets to me. And yes, unfortunately, I did pick up the not hot iron which was on the kitchen bench. I brandished it near my ear, feigning an attack on her, not on Julian. Dot would know I would never hit her with it, but perhaps Julian wasn't so sure. Anyway, I was the only one that got hit on the head with it, not by Dorothy, and so I just marched out the kitchen in disgust. But later that day, Julian did move the car, and I saw to my relief that there was no oil patch on the drive. So as there was no problem, we just left the car there. But I did put some newspaper under it, just to make sure. And that's how that happened. It was an unfortunate incident, and it didn't need to happen. All that stuff about patrolling police is hogwash. They never once came down our street checking tax discs. The only time I remember seeing them at all was when Tom's bicycle got stolen. And they were a fat lot of good then. And then another one from her. Just see if that light's bright enough. Hold on. It's getting a bit dark. Item 2. This is her. But that behaviour increased again when Marnie died, and he has monopolised Tommy. When he lied and took Tommy, just turned 11, to Thailand to get into Pete's family home. A manipulation, as he had been denied and put up in Pete's rented accommodations until then. More on that later. He had also been to the hospital as had a minor heart attack. He told me he was taking Tommy to riding lessons and then bringing fish and chips home. It's not exactly true. What a betrayal of trust. Since then I've had lots of abuse, which I have not burdened anyone with, unless they have seen it or heard about it. Yeah, right. It is getting worse day by day, psychological abuse. Now, as if he threatens me, I say I will call the police. And physical abuse not attempted. If I stick up to him and any argument happens, it affects Tommy really badly. Using Tommy. I am concentrating upon Tommy's welfare and Natalie, Mickey, James, Sophia and Maria. And so yes, is this enabling? But I challenge any provocation, rationally, calmly and firmly, and as quietly as I can. Oh, bookcase incident accepted. This morning, after several attempts to annoy or upset me, I have told him his behaviour is not normal and he needs to seek help from a professional. From your mum, Julian. Kiss, kiss. Right, my reply now. My behaviour towards her or anyone else never changed when Marnie died. I was always reasonable and never aggressive, unless someone was that way with me. Only ever her, by the way. Of course, Marnie's death was an earth-shattering for me and all our family, but one had to just go forward. I gave up any diving, motorbike lessons, etc., and I promised Marnie, in my soul, that I would set everything aside to make sure Tommy could feel secure again, and safe in the arms of me, Dot, and the rest of the family. I helped him, Tommy, with cubs, school events and work, read to him, took him to fun things like Jeremy Clarkson's event in Newcastle, to air shows, visits to ships, reading to him, and all the while protecting him, but not hothousing or isolating him, as Dorothy always accused me of, until she got possession of James and did exactly that with him. Still does. I feel I have done a fine job with Tommy, but mostly it's him himself. He's a lovely kid, always polite, always caring, and has made his own decisions over his development and future. He has Marnie's spirit in him, and I'm convinced she watches out for him and guides him from above. But back to hypocrisy. Dot's grinding crap is just that. Bookcase incident accepted is so funny because she knows she was caught out there. But I can't be bothered to relate it. Ask me if you want to know. Right. And that's the last document I'm going to go through. As I said, there are reams and reams more, and I can't believe that anyone would have the time to produce such a chronology in such meticulous detail, and totally slanted against me and to an extent Natalie. They are a tissue of lies, but no doubt being saved to dump on my family should I depart this world first. Although I'm sure you've already been fed, and that is why you have allowed yourself to swallow it, hook, line and sinker. If you have done, then you can feel very proud of yourselves, but I kind of pity you. And that's from me. Yeah. Okay, that's all.